Thank you. Dave and I are honored to speak with you. Max is a first semester senior here at Missouri Military Academy. We all share a common bond in that we have young men that attend this school, but we all have unique stories, and we would like to share ours with you. For us, this journey began in the middle of Max's sophomore year. He is a great kid who didn't have academic or disciplinary issues. Now, we are not perfect parents, but we thought we were doing many things right as parents. We raised him in the church. We provided a private elementary school education. We supported his participation in youth sports, and we limited his screen time. We are active and intentional parents. We have instilled in Max many of our values, such as education, faith, hard work, discipline, integrity, honor, character, and compassion. During the first semester of Max's sophomore year at his very large public school, Dave and I began to notice that he was just attending classes. He wasn't involved in anything. He was floundering. He was flying under the radar. His grades were fine. But Dave and I didn't think that he was having a well-rounded high school experience. And we became very concerned as parents that he might graduate from that very large high school and essentially be the same person that he was when he started there. In early December of Max's sophomore year, we toured 2 boarding schools. The day after Christmas, we shared with Max that he would no longer be going to that large public high school, but instead, in January, would be transferring to St. John's Military School, SJMS, in Salina, Kansas. I remember when we toured SJMS, we asked the admissions director many, many questions. And every time he would smile and say, "Max will figure it out. He will figure it out." And I know that during our year and a half there, we also heard our fair share of trust the process. As parents, we had made a very difficult decision about our son's education. It was a huge sacrifice, and it continues to be a huge sacrifice, but it is a decision that we are committed to. The first 6 weeks were very hard on Max, and they were hard on us. Not only did we leave our only child at a military boarding school 6 hours away from our hometown, but we had to return to our normal life, which was no longer normal at all. And we were faced with the challenge of explaining our decision to many people. First off, our family, our friends, coworkers, church members, and even our neighbors. It was a very rough time for us, but we persevered, and so did Max. And he began to figure it out, and so did we. One of the most memorable times was when Max called us during the 5th week at his time at SJMS, and he called to tell us that he had passed the new boy test. And it was quite a moment because he had worked very hard to achieve old boy status, and he had accomplished it. And then he went on to share that he had also joined the basketball team. He was participating in chapel council. And he was even thinking about trying out for the baseball team. He was taking an active role in his education, and as parents, we could hear that in his voice. While we were committed to Max completing his education at SJMS, he wasn't totally convinced. Somehow, he thought that it was a one-semester experiment, and the following year, he would return to his large public high school. However, we told him many, many times that spring semester that he would, in fact, be graduating from SJMS. During Max's junior year, he began to appreciate the opportunity that we were providing him. He began to see it as something that we were doing for him, not to him. And when that thought process shifted, he began to embrace the structure, small class sizes, earning awards and rank for hard work and discipline. He was involved in chapel council. He was on the baseball team, named Student of the Quarter that year, inducted into the National Honor Society, and was rising up in rank. He was having a great year. Then we got the news that after 131 years, St. John's Military School would be closing in May. Not only were we heartbroken, but Max was too, because he had finally embraced the idea of graduating from SJMS.
So Alice and I had to decide where Max would complete his high school education. The closure was really a devastating blow. We had grown to love SJMS, the teachers, the administrators, the staff, the military advisors. They had all had a positive impact on Max. And one thing that Max shared with us pretty quickly was that he did not want to go back to his large public high school. And for that, we were very relieved. Alice and I realized that the military school environment worked for Max, and he had finally accepted that too. However, we still had another difficult decision to make. And to be honest, Missouri Military Academy was at the top of our list initially because of location. We wanted to be within driving distance, and Mexico, Missouri is about 6 hours from our home. But also our experience with SJMS closing made us very sensitive to what is needed to run a successful boarding school. MMA impressed us with their campus, their facilities, their focus on education, their endowment, and successful and active alumni, and their administrators, teachers, and staff whom we met during our campus visit. After being part of a military school closure, we knew firsthand the importance of all of these things. In the end, it was more than just proximity that swayed our decision. Ultimately, we chose MMA because many of their values aligned with our values. We thought our son could continue on his path and grow and develop into a responsible, self-advocating, productive young man and citizen. And while Max's story is still evolving, we confidently believe he is going to be a much different and better person for facing and overcoming the challenges that come with starting over at another military school in his senior year. Since August 1st, our impression of MMA is one of a challenging but encouraging environment for cadets. And while no school is perfect, this is a place that supports learning and growth. After all, people don't learn from perfect. They learn from engaging in experiences, whether those are good or bad, fair or unfair. So we are thankful that our son can complete his high school education at MMA. And we'd like to share some things that have been helpful for our experience at two military schools. We have learned to trust the process. And let me put this into some perspective. First, we see the process as a triad involving three things: Certainly, MMA is at the core of that, but it also requires the participation of the cadet and their family. We are all part of the process and all need to be held accountable to it. Second, we've learned the process, or to trust the process in terms of it being a learning process. It's not always pleasant, not always fair, and it certainly doesn't always provide instant gratification. What better preparation for life? I've been in higher education for 26 years and have worked closely with many students. And through this experience, I've come to identify some characteristics of successful students. And these have nothing to do with high ACT or SAT scores. Instead, I found that successful students have a strong work ethic. They have a mindset that you earn what you get. You're not entitled to anything. They have perseverance, resiliency, grit, whatever you want to call it. Oftentimes they find college harder than expected, but they don't give up. They learn from failure and challenges, and they press on. They manage their time effectively and organize their tasks. They know how to work as a team. They build relationships with those who bring them up and can help them. These are all great qualities for success in life. And this process is helping our sons develop these qualities now, before they go to college, join the military, or go directly into the workforce, whatever the next step may be in their journey. We've also tried to learn about MMA. Yes, we read the cadet handbook. We try to understand the chain of command and know the expectations for cadets. We have tried to get to know our son's teachers, his RFOs, and other staff members. So we try to continue to be involved parents. And we try to introduce ourselves to other parents and get to know them. We are a unique group, so embrace it. There are very few military schools still open in the United States, so we are doing something special. And you won't get this type of understanding necessarily in your hometown. Along with that, I want to thank Aaron and members of the Parents Committee for providing support and guidance to all of us. They are amazing volunteers. And finally, at every opportunity, we encourage our son to self-advocate and to figure it out. As we tell Max Dawson almost every day, you've got this, you do you. And many times we follow with Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. Thank you so much for your time. We look forward to enjoying the rest of the weekend with you.